were just talking about the shocking things that are going on. John Fund is here from the Wall Street Journal, and I want to talk about a little bit about who's going to the White House. But I want to just continue this conversation that we've had off the air here about the AP is running a story about a political civil war.
Even if the Republicans win tomorrow, says the Associated Press, it won't solve the Republican Party problems because they have all these deep divisions, and there's going to be a civil war within the party, as indicated by what happened up in the New York 23 special election.
Well, how can you possibly not get that you shouldn't be running candidates that are okay with Acorn? How can you not get that you shouldn't be running people who are in for big spending programs?
Well, I think the Republican Party leadership finally did get that message because all of the money dried up. Dede Skozafava, the family's-backed Republican, couldn't get any money. So the Republican leadership basically pulled the plug on her. And then you had people like Sarah Palin come in. They led the field. Then you had people like Fred Thompson come in. You had people like Tim Pawlenty come in. And then you had some other candidates who stood on the sidelines.
You know, it's amazing to me that they don't understand. There's a revolution happening already, and it's an Obama revolution. He's got all these revolutionary Marxists in his White House. The people are just responding.
Glenn, what I have long since concluded, having spent time in Washington, is, you know, our political leaders are actually followers. The only question is they sometimes don't know where to go. You know, there's the story of the politician who's up in his office and he looks down, there's a parade there, and he says, those are my people. I must get in front of them and lead them. And that's what we're seeing now.
Right.
Republicans went with Tom DeLay and pork barrel spending. They thought that was the way to go back then, high spending. We'll just spend in ways different from the Democrats a little bit. No. They forgot what their base, the average working American, wants. And now they're having to rediscover it again. You're forcing them to rediscover it.
Let me show you. I think you won't recognize this political landscape a year from now. I said a year ago that you will not recognize this country by this coming Christmas. Now, if you were in a car accident a year ago today, and you woke up from a coma today, you would not recognize this country already, and there's more to come by Christmas.
Glenn, I think the danger to our country is so great. I think we're going to see 1994, except this time it may stick. In other words, the People's Revolution that we saw in 1994, where they actually extended secure.
They're not going away.
Games.
They're not going away. We're too close to losing our entire children's future. Okay, here I have the people that are showing up at the White House. These are the people we had people.
The family,
if you will. George Soros has been visiting Barack Obama. John Podesta. These are all really the same people, are they not?
Same idea.
Can you get up here, Harry? Can you get up down? Or do I need to hold them all up? It's the Working Family Parties is really Acorn. You can't do it, right? Okay, Working Family Parties is really Acorn.
Bertha Lewis is co-chair of the Working Families Party, and she runs Acorn.
Okay. You have SEIU, which is really Acorn in the Working.
They often share the same office space.
Exactly right.
They're the single biggest contributor to Acorn.
George Soros
funds all of these groups.
George Soros and John Podesta.
Bill Clinton's former chief of staff, he runs the think tank for all the left wing.
And for George Soros.
Yeah.
Right? And then Andy Stern. This is the guy who was the most visiting.
22 visits in 6 months.
22 visits. This is the guy that. Do we have the audio of what Barack Obama said about Andy Stern? Got to play the audio because this tells you everything. You want to know who's really controlling our country? It's this guy.
Politico.com, which is a moderate publication, says Andy Stern practically lives at the White House.
That's amazing. Okay, do we have the audio? Do we have it? Okay, I'm sorry. When I go off script, they're like, Glenn, you've got like 600 different things. Okay, so this is really what I think America is rejecting. They're not really rejecting this guy.
Very likable.
Yeah. If this guy was just by himself and he was like, hey, I'm a president, I'm in there, and I'm listening to you.
Remember, he won campaigning as a moderate. I'm not going to raise your taxes one thin dime. He was right. It's going to be millions of dimes.
Right. And it's not. But it's not just this guy. Americans don't mind voting for somebody, even if it's somebody they're like, okay, well, it ended up being wrong. They don't mind that. What they were told, but they wouldn't listen. What they have a problem with is they voted actually for these guys. This guy is. Really, honestly, he's just the front man, is he not?
Some people tried to tell America what was in Fibber McGee's closet, you know,
Yeah.
all the things that would tumble out,
Yeah.
Pandora's box. They didn't want to listen because they were so mad at Bush and the economy tanked, and people were very scared. Well, they got change. They just didn't bargain for this kind of change.
Okay, let me show you this SEIU clip real quick.
Your agenda's been my agenda in the United States Senate.
Now you,
Before debating health care, I talked to Andy Stern and SEIU members. Before immigration debates took place in Washington, I talked with Althea Medina and SEIU members.
stop.
Before
All right, stop. Let me ask you this. You have SEIU, is Acorn, SEIU, same office space, which is this. This is the party in that the Republican that just got out. It was endorsed by the working family. Also, Pay the Past accepted this, and they're all working with SEIU, correct?
Yeah, SEIU is separate, but they're intermingled.
They're in the same buildings.
Many times.
Many
And
times.
Wade Rasky was head of 2 SEIU locals.
Yes.
He was the founder of Acorn.
Right, okay. This is causing problems now, or one of these is causing problems now in New Jersey, because it looks like we're playing a little game now because of what Corzine did with the voting. You no longer have to,
No excuse absentee voting.
Right.
You can vote absentee, you can mail it in,
Whatever you
and the number of absentee voters has exploded. There are already more absentee votes cast in New Jersey than the presidential year, when you normally have a much higher turnout.
Right.
And here's what's happened. 3,000 of those absentee votes that came in, the signatures don't match. So what's the Democratic Party do? It writes to the Secretary of State and says, you should count them anyway. You should allow them to be provisional ballots. And we are seeing in Camden, I spoke to 2 voters today. They never applied for an absentee ballot, but somebody's already voted for them. People are going door to door in parts of Camden with Hispanics that don't have very much knowledge of English, and they're saying, we have a new way for you to vote, like the way of a forma de votar. Just fill out these papers.
I heard that just outside of Camden in a hospital, they're going into hospitals.
That's in Essex County, East Orange Hospital, where people who have had the ties with Acorn going in with ballots. New Jersey allows you to actually carry ballots for somebody else, deliver them, have them filled out or assisted, and then deliver them to the election facility.
That's why
it's an invitation to fraud.
America, that's Washington, you better listen up, and you better listen up. That's why America has a problem with this. All of these people. We didn't vote for these people. We don't want to see them. We don't mind if this is the guy who won. We don't mind. But we voted for that guy, not this.
And
Get out of our way.
When Acorn was exposed through voter registration fraud and those videos with the pimps and the prostitutes,
Yeah.
we saw the tip of the iceberg, because Acorn are the people who do the dirty work for all these other groups. They do the really bad stuff.
Yeah.
But the other groups endorse it and finance it and help it, and they're part of it.
John Fund, Wall Street Journal, thank you very much. Back in just a second. Oh, by the way, his new book, How the Obama Administration Threatens to Undermine Our Elections, available everywhere. John Fund, great writer, great book. Back in a minute.